What if your story could ignite a movement? At New Solutions Network, we merge truth, resilience, and reinvention, fueling shows that cut past the noise and light up what really matters: human potential. Police, athletes, survivors, incarcerated folks, visionaries, we bring raw, real voices the world needs to hear. Want to share your story? Want to sponsor change? Now is the time. New Solutions Network, unlocking the future, one voice at a time.
Hello and welcome. I'm Ian Jones, one of the presenters of Sexy Science Time, part of the Netanya Experience series of shows. I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself today and what got me into presenting sexy science. As you can tell, I'm not from the US. I was born in Manchester, the UK, a long time ago. In my childhood, I went through the UK public school system and got to witness many technological changes along the way. I'm old enough to have seen the introduction of personal computers into the school system, the invention of video recorders and compact discs, along with changes to civil rights laws and to health, safety and environment laws and many other things as well. I had a typical Gen X upbringing. I played unsupervised outside quite a lot. I got to visit my family in various different parts of the country, and probably one of the most important for me was actually my grandparents on my mother's side. They lived in the countryside, surrounded by wheat fields and barley fields and sugar beet. And I got to learn a lot about the countryside and about farming and agriculture through them and their friends that owned farms, and have many fond childhood memories of going out with my grandmother to, for example, pick blackberries from the hedgerows around her house. And those eventually got turned into wonderful things like blackberry crumble, blackberry and apple pie, and so on. And in addition, those hedgerows taught me another lesson, that bramble can be quite an effective fence. And for example, some of the brambles that grew around my grandparents' place had stems about that thick and thorns on them that were as big as the tip of my finger. Not even the bravest person would have tried to cross the property boundary through that kind of barrier. In addition, around the little country roads around where they lived, grew and possibly still does grow, it's been a while since I was there, a variety of primrose called a cowslip. And it's got a single flower on it. It's a pretty little yellow flower. And we used to pick those because my grandmother made wine out of them, and along with making wine out of a whole bunch of other things as well, including things like rose hips and so on. From an early age then, I had an interest in finding food out in the wild and about the natural world around me. And it was a scary place as well. As a kid sleeping out in their house in the countryside, I got to hear all kinds of strange animal sounds as well. And for anyone that's ever heard a pheasant sound in the dark of night, or the yiffing of a fox, they're very unusual sounds, and as a city kid you wouldn't hear those and wonder what they were when you got to hear them in a dark country place in the middle of the night. And I got my bachelor's degree in chemical engineering in 1990 something or other. Let's skip over that bit. It was a great degree as a foundation for bringing me to this point, because not only is it a broad subject, but it's quite deep too. And that opened my eyes and just kind of helped me be more aware of my world. And I learned a great many things, even at university, around physics and how the world works from a physics point of view. In addition to learning various things like project management and economics and so on. And all these little pieces fed into my curiosity about the world and how all these little things fit together. I I got my first job in marketing. Couldn't get a job in engineering back in those days because the economy was kind of bad. And that led me to driving around the country in a small tractor-trailer unit, visiting factories, oil refineries, wastewater treatment plants, pharmaceutical plants, and a whole bunch of other things, presenting a range of lab equipment and engineering equipment. And I got to see a whole part of the UK. I traveled all four corners of the UK, and that was a great experience, meeting all these people, eating all these different foods in different towns. And I learned a lot about the things that I was presenting too, and some of those things come back to me even now as useful things to have learned. Since then, I've been in a variety of industries, including nuclear and pharmaceutical. And along the way, one of the most important parts of my career that led me here was in learning how to conduct incident investigations. And the process of investigating an incident and looking at the causal factors, and in addition, kind of distilling out what really happened in a way that you can develop some kind of lesson to learn from it, and sharing those lessons are the skills that I apply when I do my presentations for Sexy Science Time. I had so many different incidents to investigate, and I really feel that the chemical engineering degree gave me a breadth of understanding so that I could go into a conversation about a vehicle accident or something that happened on one of the big oil ships, or in how docks and jetties operate, that aren't things that one learns in the chemical engineering degree, but it set me up so that I could then at least ask intelligent questions from a point of ignorance and kind of understand enough about it so that I could distill what went wrong and then explain that to people. And for me, that was one of the most fun parts, is getting to the end and coming up with a coherent explanation of what went wrong, the lessons we can learn from that, and things we can do to prevent that kind of thing from happening again. And a great part of that was also about doing the presentations, about training people in what went wrong and teaching people some of the lessons that needed to be learned, and actually standing up in front of people and having that conversation. And all those things led me to here. So thank you very much for listening.